Can we talk about an aspect of your hometown? How easy is it to travel around where you're from?
Yes, I'm from Mitchford, the most beautiful place on earth. It's quite a small coastal city. There's about 230,000 people who live there, and we have quite a good transportation system there. I'd say most people travel by car. Our roads are pretty modern and well sealed, but people who don't have a car usually catch a bus. The bus travels to most parts of the city and it's quite cheap. For example, to travel by bus from one end of the city to another costs about £2. And that's pretty cheap compared to what I pay here in England.
Okay, which kinds of public transport do you use most and why?
Actually, that's a difficult question to answer because back home I have my own car. I sure do miss that. When I was younger, I used to catch the bus to school. In my city, all students under 16 who lived more than 4, maybe it was 3, anyway, about 3 or 4 kilometres from the nearest public high school, were given a bus pass which allowed them to catch the bus to school for free. The problem was there was never enough seats to allow for all the students, so usually most students had to stand up in the bus all the way until they arrived at school. But it was much better than having to walk, I can assure you that. Occasionally I caught a taxi, but it was a very rare thing. Taxis are about 4 or 5 times more expensive than regular bus fares, so taxis were only used if there was no other option.
But what about here? Do you use public transport here in England?
Oh yes, here I mostly use the underground. It's totally different from back home. At Mitchford we don't have enough people to warrant an underground rail system. At least I think that's the reason we don't have one. That's been a really interesting part about living here, getting used to the rail system.
How do you compare public transport here in England with public transport back home?
Well, actually back home, public transport is always late. It's not unusual for the bus to be like 15 to 20 minutes late. We have a saying, if you want to arrive on time and you're catching the bus, prepare for 1 hour of travel. Well, here the underground is always on time. It's been interesting in that it's always on time and extremely reliable.
Okay, let's move on to the topic of movies. Do you enjoy watching movies?
Yes, I do enjoy movies. Do you know anyone who doesn't? I don't. I must say that I'm a bit of an action person. I love action movies. I like it when the tough bad guy gets beaten. I love happy endings and the hero's always got to win.
And how often do you watch movies?
Well, it's actually been quite a while since I've been to the cinema to watch a movie. I think the last movie I saw was Action Force, a real action movie which I enjoyed immensely. It's actually too expensive to go to the movies these days, and besides, if I wait for a while, I can watch it at home. Besides, I'm too busy studying at the moment. There's really not enough time to watch movies.
Okay, let's talk about what you like to do in your free time. What sorts of activities do you like to do in your free time?
Free time? Well, I don't have too much of that nowadays. But when I do, I enjoy reading. I mostly enjoy reading business books and magazines. My father has a business back home, and once I finish my studies, I'm going to return home and help him with the running of it. I enjoy studying about business and learning about new ideas and ways of making a business more successful and effective.
Okay, good. I'm now going to give you a topic that you will need to speak about for 1 to 2 minutes. You can take notes if you want. You have 1 minute to prepare what you want to say. I want you to talk about the best holiday you have ever had.
The best holiday I have ever been on is a very difficult question to answer because I've been on so many excellent holidays. I guess I've been very lucky. In the summertime back home when I was young, my family used to go to the beach and we'd camp under the stars. That has always been an excellent memory for me. But I'd have to say the most wonderful holiday I have ever had was when I was 19, when I went to Minnesota in the United States for a summer camp experience. It was just so much fun. I met over 200 teenagers and we participated in some excellent camp activities. Let me see, we had swimming in the lake where the camp was situated. We also had water skiing, which was excellent fun. It was really difficult to hold onto the rope while the boat pulled us around the lake. Another fun activity was camping. We, our dorm, went on a 3-day canoe trip. I think there were about 10 of us in our group, which took us to the Canadian boundary waters. There I saw some of the most beautiful alpine scenery I have ever seen in my life. The lakes were so clear, and we could drink the water from them by dipping our cups as we canoed along. It was just amazing. I wish everyone could witness the incredible beauty we saw on that trip. Let's see, what else? Yes, there was basketball and volleyball, which we played in the big indoor gymnasium. Some of the Americans were really good basketball players. They even had cheerleaders at some of the games. I got to know so many people. In fact, I still write to some of the people I met there. Isn't email a great way to keep in touch? There are other things, but I can't think of them at the moment. I will say this: I would love to go back there again in the future. Now, of course, I'm too old to be a camper, but it would be excellent to be a staff member. They are always looking for volunteers. If you volunteer at the camp, they pay for your food and accommodation for the whole summer, and that's around 3 months in America.
We've been talking about the best holiday you've ever had, and I'd like to discuss one or two more questions that are related to this. Firstly, let's consider the effect of holidays. What effect do holidays have on people?
I believe the holidays have a big positive effect on people. For many, I know holidays are the highlight of the year. People wait all year, especially those who don't like their job. They wait for the holiday periods. They plan and prepare for what they will do, and they get excited by what they're going to do on their holidays. Typically, people are in a good mood when they're on holiday. They're smiling and alert. They show interest in their new environment. I believe that for most people, holiday time is the best time of their year.
Many people refer to their holidays as highlights of the year. Why do you think holidays are highlights for people?
Yes. Well, I think holidays are highlights for people because if a person doesn't like his or her work, a holiday represents a break in what they would otherwise normally do. It gives people a chance to go in a different direction, to do something they want to do instead of being a slave to their job. Holidays allow people to recreate, to refresh their mind and body. I read somewhere recently that it's actually a very healthy thing for a person to take a complete break from what he or she normally does and then to do something different. I guess what I'm saying is a holiday is a change. It's a change in location and activity. That reminds me of the expression, a change is as good as a holiday. It's a good one, and I think it's true.
Good. Let's talk about a related issue, the issue of tourism. Do you see any negative aspects with regard to tourism?
Yes, absolutely. I come from a coastal town, and there is a constant, steady stream of people who pour through it. These people often cause problems in the accommodation industry, which is obviously related to tourism. They come in and kind of let their hair down. They show no respect for the facilities. Often there is damage to the places where they stay. I've heard of broken lamps and chairs, dirty marks on walls and carpets, those kind of things. They drink heavily and make a lot of noise, constantly in a party mode. This has had a very negative impact on our town and gives tourists a bad name in the minds of some of the local people.
What could be done to stop the negative aspects of tourism from happening?
I guess stricter laws could be introduced. If people don't obey the laws, then the consequences might be a financial penalty. An expensive fine, or perhaps throw the offenders into prison for a day or two. That would certainly, I imagine, have a big effect upon the bad behaviour of people visiting a city while on holiday.